look like if you're a musician that wants to weave advocacy into their career? That's the big question that I look at on this podcast. It's called It's Giving, and it's hosted by me, Ingela Travers-Hayward. Welcome back to another week. This week, my guest is Joy Oladokun. Joy and I had a fantastic conversation. One of my favorite parts, though, is when we start talking about gun violence prevention midway, 2/3 through the episode. I suppose that's what you call a teaser, so stick around and listen to it. The reason it interested me so much is because, in case you haven't figured it out through how I pronounce about, I am in fact Canadian. I've been in the States for, oh my God, just over 10 years now. But one of the things that I don't think I'll ever be able to wrap my brain around is people's stance on guns in this country. And so we ended up talking about gun violence prevention because that was something that Joy raised money for on one of her tours a few years ago through Plus One. And so when it came up, Joy said perhaps one of the truest things I have ever heard about why she decided to raise money for that cause specifically. I think it's also gallows humor at its finest. So I highly encourage you to listen to this episode, hear what Joy has to say. She's unbelievably interesting. And yeah, I had a fantastic time having this conversation with her, and probably could have kept her on the horn for way longer than the half an hour I promised her I would. In any case, on a broader note, thank you so much again for continuing to listen. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. It just gives us this huge wave of support. Thank you again. Enjoy the episode. Enjoy Joy's gallow humor. I know that I certainly did. Joy, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, you have been a career musician for quite some time.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you can remember the first time where music and activism kind of started to overlap, because it seems like activism has been sort of part and parcel with your career since the very beginning. Do you sort of have that instance where you're like, oh yeah, now I have the agency to actually do something?
Yeah. Uh, Honestly, I think it goes as far back as my upbringing and my mom specifically. I was actually just thinking about it because I was talking with someone about, women's rights, and how they've is taken some steps back lately. And I was talking about how my mom is this woman of faith who worked at Planned Parenthood for a long time. And I was just sort of thinking and processing being a kid, watching your mother sort of make the choice with her career to sort of stand for something that she cared about, which is honestly just women's health. Like, my mom still is very passionate about it, but I think since I was a kid, I've always believed that your job and sort of your beliefs or the impact you want to leave on this world should be intertwined. And then I got lost and was a worship leader for a little bit because I I thought we were going by what Jesus said, not like by what, I don't know, some white guy in a bad wig said. But I I think I'm finally finding my way to be like, I think that art and politics is difficult and like is not fun as it may seem for people. I think they've always been intertwined because I think the person, you know, uh, who writes the songs or, sings the songs, they're identifying with some part of it. And I think as much as you want to remove an artist from the art, sometimes you just really can't. And I think I am one such case.
It's funny. This sort of jumps ahead, but I usually like to ask people, like, were you always someone that cared about other people, or was there something that happened that like made you care about other people? But it seems like having a mom that was sort of involved in I mean, my goodness, she must have seen some changes from like back then to now where women's rights are concerned. It's like obviously
Yeah.
she's the person that had that mark on you, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, my mom, again, like, we were going to a small church in a small town, and my mom was the only person who was like voting for like LGBTQ rights, in the 90s and early 2000s. And I think that it's just for watching her, like, I really do credit so much of how I approach my work to how my mom just operated during her career and as a person.
Do you remember sort of the first time where either you spoke publicly about something or you did a benefit concert or yeah, is there sort of one instance where you're like, "Oh, yes, that's sort of where it all started?" As a musician, I mean, as
Ooh,
yeah.
yeah. Honestly, no. I think from the very beginning, a lot of my dissatisfaction, like as a church music leader, came to a head when, around the death of Walter Scott. Ferguson was happening. There were things happening in the Black community where uh, I was just sort of flabbergasted by people's
No kidding.
disconnect or willing to again, spend your time talking about love and making the world a better place, and then seeing the obvious suffering of a people and not wanting to participate in their healing. And that is around the time that I wrote my very first album, which came out in 10 years ago now. Um, and I wrote a song called Charleston. And I think that just sort of being able to put to paper as a spiritual person, I just think if God exists, God cares about all of this and not just the things that we like or the people that we like or the causes that we like. And yeah, I just remember writing that song being like, I think I finally found sort of a way to express what I believe an artist should be doing with their time.
Was it hard to figure out what the idea of what an artist should be doing with their time? Like, do you, I guess, feel pressure as an artist to talk about this stuff? Or is it just, yeah, again, part and parcel of who you are and how you grew up?
I feel less pressure to talk these days, and I think it's because we live in a very hyper communicative era. There's a lot of information all the time, and I try not to speak unless I feel like I can add value to the conversation. I think what is Yeah, I think honestly my role has been to listen, to learn, and then to imbue maybe the wisdom of the past or the hope that people drew from in the past into what I'm working on and what I'm making now. I think that process just came I sort of I sort of love an era of music that's known for being very political, like Otis Redding, Sam Cooke, Jimi Hendrix, Bob Dylan sometimes, like I like Odetta. I think I have a lot of heroes that were always just mixing the moment with the art that they were making. And so for me, I just didn't really know, even as someone who loves pop music, I just didn't really know anything else.
Feel like I don't know. I think about this a lot, and I don't think I'm musically savvy enough to know the true answer if there is a true answer. But like, do you feel like music is as political today as it was in a time like that? Or is it like I don't know, like, I try and think about, like, is there okay, good. So you have a much better answer for this than I do, 'cause I don't know. And maybe the answer is, like, a flat out no, or it's like, I think about, if someone wants to write a song that's anti X, Y, or Z, is that helping in this day and age versus, like, back then? I think it really did help. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's exactly as political as it is or as it was,
Yeah.
as it was perceived to be, and I think that there maybe has been a breakdown, uh uh, there's been a tug of war between commercial success and maybe cultural impact that I think has been happening for a long time, and not to say that songs that are popular aren't impacting culture. Uh, I think pop music for me, I love pop, like, truly, like, love, love, love pop music. I think it's always indicative of where our hearts and our brains
Mhm.
are. I think it's like, as much as we hate it, it's a signifier to people being like, "This is what we like en masse." Some of that's
Yes.
harder
Mhm.
to trust in the digital age, but, I think that, if you look at the charts, where America is specifically makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I know. I knew as I was asking, it's just so but it's like, do we have the ability to go back to a time where, yeah, like the number one song on Spotify is political in nature? Like, or are we just past that, you know?
Well, I think the problem is I guess it's hot take Thursday. People need to stop considering social justice music a genre. I'm gonna
That's yeah.
run through a wall. It's not a genre. I think it's something you imbue in your work or not, you know? And don't tell me about it. I think that there's some questions about how much do you reveal your identity when you're becoming an artist or releasing a song. I talk about being Black and queer because it always informs what I'm writing, because I'm
Mhm.
writing from a life perspective. But I think that there's a moment we're having where either everybody wants to be really different, and so nobody's writing choruses,
Mhm.
or everybody wants to be really like everybody wants their politics or their ideas, their ideologies to be so obvious that that it's almost alienating to people who might be uh, centrist, or not even totally opposite of where we are, but maybe just a two or three steps, to the right or left, whatever you're pushing.
Yeah.
um and I think that a change is going to come as a political song, but if you look at the lyrics, they're pretty simple. Like,
Yeah.
and what's imbued is the emotion. Or like, I love Bill Withers, so I think a lot about like Lean on Me and a lot of his music and his approach and why he left to go paint houses because he was tired of being a musician. And I like those lyrics are very, very simple. Well, if someone handed those to like Anthony Fantano today, he might even call them pedestrian, you
Yeah.
know? But sometimes the things that move people are the simplest things. And like I'll get made fun of all day about how maybe sort of repetitive or reductive or whatever people have said about my work in the past. I don't care.
Good.
You know what I mean?
Probably makes life
I
easier,
s-
yeah.
I sleep 7.5, 8 hours at night writing the simplest, stupidest shit in the world. And not because I think it's stupid, but because not everybody speaks English. Not everybody understands the world the way that you do. Not everybody, the closer you can bring something to someone's understanding, the better. And I think my work has always been, how do I build a bridge from where I stand and what I feel and what I fear to where the other person is standing? And I think the next popular protest type, inspirational, political type song will be bridge building. There's a reason Fast Car went number one all those years after it was written. It's really not just because it was sung by a white guy. It's because it's an incredible song in which Tracy Chapman was able to outline the ways poverty just breaks you down and traps you in a cycle. And so many people can. So I think that's what it is for me, is sort of putting your desire to be so identifiable aside. As an artist, for me, is what I'm working on, and trying to just be like, uh what is true for us all right now as we feel and like wade through a new world.
I think this is why you're the songwriter and I'm not, because in my mind, I'm like, well, why isn't someone on the top of the charts singing a chorus that says "fuck ice"? But then on the other hand, it's like, okay, well, maybe their lyrics are saying something slightly more eloquent, that like evokes that feeling. And yeah, I think that's you're completely right.
Yeah, because I think some people, I can think of 10, I'm damaged by the internet. I can think of 10 reasons why someone would reject a song called Fuck Ice. And
Yeah,
five of them aren't political.
yeah,
Some people don't like bad language, you know?
yes.
Some people really like frozen water and feel like fuck ice.
That you know what? That's possible. Yeah.
Hmm. Uh, so there's a lot there. I think a lot of people are looking for a way to say it. Uh, it's again, it's medicine and the junk food. It's a way to, I don't know. I've been putting my dogs like allergy medicine and peanut butter. Like it's just somewhat, we're all maybe searching for ways to do that.
So speaking about Hot Take Thursday, so
Huh.
I read an article that you or an interview that you did. It was amazing. I think the author was Brittany McKenna in the Nashville scene last year.
Mm.
And so I won't read you back the whole quote that you wrote because I feel like sitting on the other side of someone having to read your words back to you is probably a nightmare. But there was one point where you're like, you can print this. I find those artists to be absolute losers. Look at our government. Anybody more famous than me didn't make any effort to stop the movement and the culture. And it was about the rise of, these white supremacist groups that were appearing in Nashville. And so I loved it. I loved it because it's just like so to the point. But there's two very different things I wanted to ask you about. First of all, what does activism look like in sort of the genre of Americana or country? It's like it's not something I ever thought about, but like when you think about Americana artists, are they more vocal about causes they care about? Are they more silent? How would you describe that? Although that quote does a powerful job. I will say I loved it.
Oh, you're about to get me fired. I don't even have a boss. Yeah, I think it's a case by case basis. I think unfortunately, I'm gonna break this down in the kindest way I can. We live in a society of a lot of credit card debt, right?
Yes. Okay. Let's see where this analogy goes. I love this.
Big home loans, big car loans, across the board, across the political spectrum. So if someone is worried that saying fuck ICE is gonna stop them from being able to afford nice shoes, they might just skip the conversation entirely. Uh, and I think that that's an economic problem tied to sort of people's livelihood and the changing tide of our world. But I actually don't empathize with it. But I'm Black and gay in the South. I'm tired of pretending like it's better
No.
out here. And there are great people, but lots of people write me off before they even have a chance to understand me based on the way that I should or shouldn't talk, the way I should or shouldn't dress, the way who I love. And so I think there are people who are easier to digest, who are quieter than I am. And I think that disturbs me because if you bought Crocs,
Okay.
if you put the fucking Balenciaga down, you could probably live a good life and make okay money and still be able to speak up for the people who need it. And yeah, the Instagram storification of it isn't enough for me. And that's why I've been trying to challenge myself not to do that as much because no, I want to put my money where my mouth is. And I never really give publicly. I'm not into that. I just do what I feel like I'm supposed to do. But I just I think too little it's almost too easy to feel like if you spread awareness via social media, that's enough. Uh but it's not.
I always ask people, yeah, like, Instagram is sort of this huge beast. Like, how does that play into things? Like, how do you decide what you're going to post, what you're not going to post? Is it worth it? Is it not? Like, is that tricky for you at all? Or are you just like, no, it's ridiculous at this point?
It can be tricky. I think
Yeah.
that I actually have a lot of anxiety around the internet, to be vulnerable. Uh it's like anytime something of mine goes viral, I'm
Yeah.
reminded of people's deepest, darkest thoughts about people who look like me or present like me, you know?
Hmm.
And I also no tea, no shade to me. I don't feel super uh advocated for in my industry all the time
Yeah.
or
I can
respected in my in
imagine.
it. Yeah, I feel like maybe people don't feel like it's I
Yeah,
just
I get it.
I have trouble navigating that.
Hmm.
But for me, I always go by the sort of voice shake rule essentially. Like a good example is I was at a destination music festival in Mexico
Oh,
There's thousands. You wouldn't
my
believe.
God. Is this like the cruise ship festival industry,
No,
or is this
it's
were you
on
on land?
ground.
Oh,
You're out of
hey,
international waters. You're in Cancun.
okay.
Dave Matthews is 2 doors down. Widespread panic is on the way. Fish has been there for 6 months. It's like one of
I
those.
don't doubt that. Yeah.
I was there and I was in a panel and someone was talking to me about remaining soft in the midst of a revolution. And I was like, you're at a destination music festival in Cancun, Mexico. It- tell me where it gets difficult for you. Like, I just like,
A little perspective, maybe.
yeah, no, it's like is softness what is required of us? And
Yeah.
I watched sort of the question play out and other panel people sort of answer. And I was like, surely someone's gonna be like, you just got out of the hot tub, Jan. Like someone's gonna do this before me. But the whole time I watched people sort of encourage that encourage softness, which isn't a bad thing. But sometimes I get like if you need a hammer to nail something in, if you grab a pillow, it's not going to do the job. Sometimes you
Mhm.
do have to harden up.
Yeah.
And I just had to say it, but I was like, I just wanted to be on vacation too.
Mm,
No,
yeah, no kidding.
I don't want to answer extra questions about what that means or uh, anything like that. But it wasn't my day for softness. It was my day to maybe present a different perspective.
And I think, like, some people, well, thankfully, some people will understand that, and I imagine for you, yeah, there's a whole bunch of people that don't, and it's kind of like, let's make sure you're always on, and we wanna talk to you about the things we wanna talk to you about when we wanna talk to you about, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm learning that I don't have the capacity for that. I've learned a lot. I had to take some time off for my health, and I learned a lot about my brain in that
Mhm.
time. And I think all the times that I felt bad for feeling like I don't have the capacity to speak, have sort of come into clarity and been warranted in a way that they haven't been. And I've started letting go of the guilt of that because I think I put so much thought and care into my art and into like, you know, and listen, they're not all hits, but I do work really hard to like imbue what I care about and what I talk about. And as someone who spends a lot of time alone, to also go out and, socialize and interact with hundreds, thousands of people, even though it doesn't feel like an interaction, is actually more of a challenge uh it- than it seems. And so I think even just communicating that to people and being like, "This is why I can't do
It's
that extra
hard.
thing," like, and not to be rude, like, but it's I'm so rarely saying hi to people at the merch table because if I do it in St. Louis, I don't know what that means for Chicago, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've been learning to just give myself the grace to be like, I don't think I have the capacity for that.
I mean, it's not an easy thing to figure out, so, like, I applaud you for at least trying. 'Cause, yeah, it's like, I just always think, yeah, as an artist, like, you must be I can't imagine how many directions you get pulled in and how much is asked of you, you know? And again, it's not this, like, for me sort of thing, but yeah, I think sort of realizing you are one person and yes, you have this platform and people wanna know stuff about you and they wanna hear what you think about things. It's like, you kinda have to think about yourself sometimes too, and that doesn't make you a bad person right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like if people meet me out, I feel like that has allowed me to like when I'm sort of bounded upon by a stranger, sometimes I'm able to be a better version of myself because I've reserved some things for surprises, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, 100%, and I think, yeah, that completely makes sense. One of the so the first part one of the other question I had about that quote, was sort of the first 4 words of it, right? You say to Brittany, "You can print this." And so this is a slightly selfish, question that I have because so for us, sometimes we have asked artists, "Hey, can you post a photo holding a kid in Narcan to help raise awareness?" And sometimes we get answers that are, "We totally support what you guys do. We are not able or willing to sort of have that, be a public facing thing that we support right now," right?
Yeah.
How how do you square if you know that there is an artist that does support something, but they're unwilling to say it publicly? Do you have any feelings about that? Because yeah, where you're like, you can print this, you stand for something and you're willing to talk to people about it.
Yeah.
How do you feel if someone stands for something but is unwilling? Yeah, what emotion do you have?
I think it depends on the person. I
Yeah.
think if it's absent in your art and in your audiences, or like if it could be a moment, if it could be an incredible teaching moment, like for
Mhm.
for the sort of meeting of cultures, sometimes I go, not that it's a missed opportunity, but the conversation then does fall to other people willing to have it, that
Yeah.
say people actually involved could just sort of easily sort of just answer it in some way somehow in their best way possible. I think if it's in your work in this climate, I really do understand why people don't say things. And
Yeah.
I've been misrepresented sometimes, I feel. I could think of there's one instance I think about every day.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that's I think that's how those things can uh it can sort of affect you as a person. And my
mhm.
goal ever since has been like, I want to be clear about what I stand for and what I care about and why I make the decisions that I make.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and I think I think if you're asking for people's time, attention, and money, you maybe they deserve at least some of that clarity. But I know not
Mhm.
everybody feels that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a case by case basis, but yeah, I always sort of wonder and, like, the other thing that I think is really intriguing with you is, like, when you go out on tour, plus one is a part of it. It's just like, "Yep, let me add $1 onto the tickets for gun violence prevention, for the Ally Coalition." Like, I guess this is kind of pivoting, but how do you it's much more like nuts and bolts, but how do you decide what it is that you wanna support? How do you yeah, is it like what is it that I guess goes on before you go on tour of, this is something that I think is deserving of this right now. I guess, yeah, or do you yeah.
Yeah, I mean, gun violence in America
Ugh.
evergreen, you know? So at least on this side of things, that was an easy choice.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
TBH, I
ugh.
am for me, if anything is going sort of like fan side, like if it's money that's going to affect the price that it costs to see
Yeah.
me, I'm always putting things in front of people that I want them to think about. Uh I For me, the Ally Coalition has been a partner in the past, and I love the idea of, like, you know, some straights feeling so strongly about their gay friends that they partner with them to, like, be like, "How can we create safe spaces?" I know they're working
Yeah.
on sort of, like, studios that, like, LGBTQ youth can use all around. Like, how can we foster holistic, beautiful lives for LGBTQ kids?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, for a while, I had your dad's favorite artist on my T-shirt because I was honestly so moved that a bunch of, like, people's fathers were willing to pay a little extra money to support the gays, you know? Uh,
Yeah.
I thought it was really moving. Like,
Yeah.
I would sort of expect it all to be, lesbians, and sometimes it is. But, I saw a sort of change in real time, and to put that in front of people is to say, "Hey, this is something that matters to me. Will you
Mhm.
share the load with me in
Yeah.
helping people?" And, like, each organization, they'll table sometimes I'll partner with, like, a local choir or whatever to bring, like, sort of awareness,
Mhm.
and so anything that's in front of people, it's like, "This is something that affects me. This is something that I think about. Uh, I'd like to share that with you." Everything else, uh I try not to put my business out in the street, and I understand why people do it, but I do think that this job is really, really beautiful in that if you have good people around you who help you manage your resources well, you can, again, live a pretty good life and also help causes that you care about. And so for me, most of the things that I do, uh, uh, I try to keep close to the chest, you know, and
Yeah.
I think that helps me just, uh, yeah, because honestly, if I, yeah, I'm not gonna, if I care about if I care about ending a war, my money's always gonna go to something like that, you know?
Yeah.
If I care about the suffering of women in Africa who are disenfranchised, you know, my money's always gonna go to that. If I care about the trees and how it's a little harder to breathe outside lately, my money's always gonna go to those types of things. But I
Yeah.
don't people don't share those values with me, and I don't always feel like it's my job to be like, "Let's give money to this together." It's like
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, it's like I'm gonna work hard and I'm gonna be very upfront about the things I care about. And hopefully, if you feel like you can give me your time and your attention and, you know, $30 for the ticket, then I could give 5 of that, you know, so that a plot of land, you know, on some, you know, that needs to stay untouched, stays untouched.
Yeah. That's
uh,
yeah, I've never thought about it like that, but yeah, it's like, here is a thing that we are all doing, and here's something that's just for me that I wanna do sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So, okay, my final question is always like, the world is a slightly tricky place right now, you know, it's a bit exhausting to be a human sometimes. For someone who's listening to this and is like, "I just wanna do something that can make me feel like I'm helping in some small way, you know, that can help me make not to get the high off of helping someone else, but just like, I feel helpless. Let me try and do something." What's your suggestion for someone who just like wants to, I don't know, make some sort of small difference?
I don't wanna make anyone anxious when I say this, but get creative, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I saw a video of this guy. I'm on YouTube Shorts because I'm 85 years old, and, he made sort of a menu that his neighbors could come pick up pre-made dinners if they didn't have time to cook,
Mhm.
and I honestly think maybe even people underestimate, does your elderly neighbor have a need, even for 5 minutes of conversation at the mailbox that you can give them, you know? Do you have a family member or a friend, or is there someone you see in your community that's like, "I bet they could use," I don't know, "a Pokemon card." You don't have to, like,
Yeah.
literally, like, I'm not talking about, like, big investments. I'm talking about, like, the small things that maybe, uh, uh, allow people to be seen and to see. I think for me, the most healing thing, I'll be honest, I like the past 4 years of my career specifically have been so hard on my mental health and my
Yeah.
physical health. Like, I cut my hair. I
Yeah.
had to, like, you know, I went through a bunch of stuff to sort of figure out what was going on with my body, and,
Mhm.
um, I think that the thing that saved me were, like, the small moments of kindness and shared humanity from my neighbors, or, you
Yeah.
know, from the people in my community that I care about. And I think that it's good to think macro, but I'm from a place where my grandmother was able to feed her family just by selling tomatoes at market, you know? So maybe, like, instead of overreaching and being like, "I wanna start a foundation, I wanna feed 100,000 people," maybe it's like, feed 1 or share a
Yeah.
meal with 1, you know? And I think those are the things that have saved me over the past few years, or where I feel like, "Oh, I'm just we're just being humans together. There's no attachment," you know?
Yeah. Well, Joy, that was a perfect place to end off. The Pokemon card reference was out of left field and I loved it. You never know, that truly might be something that does help someone, but no, the sentiment I totally
It
agree
would
with,
help
but
me, you know?
I
Yeah.
I I get it. Well, no, well, thank you so much for this, and yeah, this was fascinating, and not too
Mm.
many hot takes, I feel like you're okay.
Cool,
You'll still have
balanced
a
take.
career after this. Yeah, you're
Well,
good.
sure, I'll save most of them for off air, you know,
There you go.
yeah.
Awesome.